Hi, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my Stampin' Up studio. I have a really super cute card to show you today, but before I get started with that, I did want to tell you about 3 upcoming events that I have. One actually starts tomorrow. So if you follow me and you are in the US and you are not a Stampin' Up demonstrator, then you will want to get the code that you can find down below this video or on Facebook. It's all over Facebook. We're having a Facebook Live event. It starts Friday and it starts at 7 p.m. and we'll have a Friday session and then all day on Saturday. I'm doing it with some of the girls in my demonstrator team, all fabulous stampers. So you'll get to see some different styles. There'll be door prizes, but there's no obligation. You can just come and watch. We know lots of people are bored in their home and looking for ideas. So that starts tomorrow and the videos will be up for about a week. So if you can't catch them live or if you're watching this video and you missed the start of it, you can still let me know for the code and I'll get you in on that. The material will be up for about a week. If you are a demonstrator anywhere in the world and you have accumulated stuff that you intended to use for classes and you weren't able to have them because we could no longer meet with people or have people in our homes, next Saturday, the following Saturday, we are hosting a Facebook Live event for you to show you ways that you will be able to use your retired stuff no matter what it is and get it to your customers and host a fun event for them. So I'll put that information, that link will be down below on the video too. Or if you're on my email list, that's the easiest way to get all of that. And then the following week, for those of you that are in the US, and you can be a demonstrator or not, you can take that class with me. You'll need the little project kit, super inexpensive, or you can get it free with a purchase this month. And we'll be making 5 cards using retired papers and embellishments and ribbons and all of that stuff. So all of that information can be found in my emails or on my website or the links down below this video, depending on where you're watching it. So for today, we're gonna go back to using Ornate Thanks. This you can be ordered now and it will be in the upcoming catalog that starts on June 1st. And like I said, the retired list does come out next week. So once I have that, then I'll start working on some samples using cards that use those. So for this, I'm going to go back to our trifold window card. I've done several of these, so I will have, if you go over to my blog, then I'll post links to past ones that I've done. So this is a 12 by 12 piece of paper that I have cut to 4. So it's 4 by 12. And then you can see I've just run it through my paper score. I didn't want to have that on the table. And so it's scored at 4. So there's a 4, 4, and 4. And then you just want to Z fold it. And you want your folds to be nice and crisp. So just take something and make sure that they're pressed down nice and well, because you're going to send this through your die cut machine. And then you just also want to make sure that it's going to open the direction that you want it to. So I want mine to go like this. And it doesn't really matter because you can have it open however you want, but for the sake of me making it how the one I already have, I won't have to think anymore. So I have it like this. So that's the way mine's opening. So if I look at it, it's a backward Z. So that's if I put it down, backward Z. And the other ones I have done in the past may open different because it doesn't really matter. I'm just doing it so, like I said, mine works like my sample because it's kind of early and as you can see, I've not finished my first cup of coffee. But my husband has been working from home. Most of you know that he works at a hospital, which this is not the best time in history to be working at a hospital. And so when he can work from home, he does, but today he has gone into the hospital. So I'm gonna put this on here. So it's laying on all 3 pieces of paper, and this is the Ornate frames. And I'm gonna do it so it doesn't go speed bump, so you wanna turn it, but I do want it straight on my paper. And I'm gonna lay it like that, so it's not gonna go speed bump, and you just are gonna send this through once. So if you have this machine, you want it right in the middle, because that's where it cuts the best, so make sure it's all laid up nice and straight on here. Because if you send it through more than once, it might cut through the back, and we don't want it to cut through the back. And it does take a tiny bit, I should have turned it this way, a tiny bit of muscle, because it's got 1 extra piece of paper in there from what we normally cut. But it's not going to break your machine. It may feel like it is, but it goes through. once it gets started, it's not bad. So send this through. So the beginning and the end are right where it feels like it's kind of tight, but once it's through, it's through. So we have this piece. And then I have 2 more pieces from the Ornate frames. This is from the Noble Peacock Designer Series paper. I'm really hoping it doesn't retire. But if it does, and you take my retired class, you may end up seeing that on some cards. And here's another one of the frames, and it is the gold foil. And again, you don't want them to go speed bump. If you don't know what that means, it means straight on, because then if your machines make that horrible clunky noise, not good for your machines, not good for your dies, and it also doesn't cut them as well. So again, these just take 1 pass through. If you feel like they're not cutting well on 1 pass through, then what you want to do, and I'll show you just in case, is hold this down, because if your things pop and they move, then you can't get another pass. But if you hold on to it like that, and you feel like your machine doesn't cut well, as long as they don't pop, you can roll them back through. Mine cut perfectly fine on the 1 pass, but just that little tip. So you can see those cut perfectly fine. I can use my little roller to get all that out. They do make a nice little mess on your table. You can see just throwing them there made a nice little mess. So I'm just gonna take my roller. I'll do it this way so you can see it a little bit better. You can see they'll all just pop out. So they cut, I've had people ask if they cut well. And I have found ever since Stampin' Up started making their own dies that I haven't had any issues with any of them. They all cut perfectly fine. So there's that one, look how pretty that is. And we're gonna cut it up. So it's beautiful, but it's gonna get cut. And here's the gold foil again, it cuts. Anytime you use the foils and you use this little brush, which if you don't have the brush, it's a necessity, I think. So just roll that out. But if you're using it with the foils, do it on the back side. That way it doesn't scratch up the pretty foil. And then with this one, knock this in the trash before it gets more on my table. So with this one now, you're left with this first panel here. And see this back panel, it doesn't cut through because you don't want a hole in the back of your card. So then these here pop out. And if you've seen me do this before, normally I use like the stitched labels or the, people are texting me, but my phone's turned off because that's my camera. But I didn't think about turning my iPad on silent, so I'm sorry. Okay, so you have this piece here and it's really pretty. So there's actually 2 pieces. So when you pull it apart, I tried to be careful and just lift this top one up. Because see on this one, again, cuts really well, look. So this piece, you're gonna just have an extra frame and you can use this on another project. See, nothing, it's all beautiful. And then these, it doesn't cut them all the way through, but it gives a really pretty different look. In fact, you may want to do this technique on something else because those are now embossed and super pretty. And we're going to use that on the back of this card because it's just a really different look. Some of them may fall off, but the ones that are, I mean, most of them won't because they're attached to your card. So that's all the die cutting that we need to do. Move those frames out of the way. Now we'll get this thing mounted together. It's not hard. It's, if you've seen my videos with these before, what I recommend is you open your card like this as you mount them together. This one actually has less stamping on it than some of my past cards because we're gonna let the paper do the work. So here's the paper that comes with the Ornate Garden Suite. So we're gonna use this side here. That's the other side, but we're just gonna use the gold side. So I'm gonna put this one on this. So for this, you want to find the flower that you want to color. So I'm gonna color this one here. And the back one, I'm not gonna color at all. So I'll do this first panel, and I've got my blends. Let's move this out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do 1 panel at a time to make it easier for you to see. So I've got my lovely lipstick blends because these will retire. So if you don't have the lipstick blends yet, you'll want to get them because this is an outgoing in color. So I'm going to take my dark. You don't want to, this paper is not cardstock, it's paper, so it will bleed. I don't know if you can hear my cat. He was being bad, so I've locked him in our bedroom and now he's crying. I don't have kids, but I do. But because this will bleed, you want to color quickly on it. So I'm just going to add some highlights of the dark. And then I'm going to take the brush tip of the light. And if you go too much, you can rub this metallic finish right off. And it doesn't need a ton of it. So I'm going to color this and then I will come back. Okay, so you see this. I will tell you my other card has leaves that were available on it. This one doesn't have any leaves, so I'm just going to go with just the lipstick because they don't all have to be the same. So now I'm going to take my first panel and I've pulled out, not this one. On the photopolymer, it's hard to see. The one that says you're amazing. And these are all out of that one stamp set. So this is like a super duper thank you card. Get the foam out of the way. And I'm just going to kind of fill the background with some black. You want to kind of go off the card. And this just kind of gives it some contrast. And you don't want all of the letters to be in the same spot. So then when you get to this side over here, just kind of close your card up so it doesn't get on the other panel. Just like that. And then I am going to stamp it on here, but I'm going to wait till I'm done gluing it on so it doesn't smear. Because the foil sometimes can be a little smeary. So now you're going to take this piece and you're going to mount it here. So the easiest way I found to do it is to just cover the back with your adhesive. And these are all cut a little bit smaller than 4 because these panels are 4, but you don't want them to butt right up next to it because it interferes with the folding. So just a smidge under 4, and then you see it lines that nicely. And then flip this over. And then this one, when you do it, lay it down first so it matches that line right there. And lay that down. A lot of my cards that I do these, I stamp the back, but there's not a lot left on this because of how big this frame is, so it doesn't need it. So that's all we need. So now we're gonna take this beautiful piece that we have here. We're just gonna take our scissors. And I'm just gonna cut straight across. You could put it in your paper trimmer. But scissors also work because this has these little leaves right here, so I'm just aiming for those so it's straight enough. And you don't need the whole piece. So that one, and then we need the other side because all of this is mirroring each other. And again, I'm just trying to aim. It's easier when my head can be right over it, but I'm just kind of aiming for those leaves. And again, I'm just going to put adhesive on these. And this is bigger than what I need, but I found it was easier to put this here, and I'm going to cover up a little bit of that frame. And then here, you can see there's 2 dots on this one, and I'm going to cut through those. Just like that. And then again, flip it over. Add a little bit of adhesive to this one. It doesn't need as much because it's going to stick to this one. And just line these up so they match. Just like that. And then again, snip those off. I'm not so much worried about these back ones because you want the front to be pretty. So we've got this. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more to it at the end, but I'm gonna wait to do all the stamping once I'm done messing with it. And then this, you can save that if you want, because you could use it as a layer on something else. So now let's go to our second panel. So for this one, I am going to color a little bit on both pieces, because you're gonna see as you lay this on here, you are gonna, oops. You're gonna need your adhesive eraser if you have one, because things like this happen. Because where it goes through those little holes, or just take your hand like that and make sure you rub all that off. You can see it coming off there. So when you put this one on, in fact, I did this one. I'm gonna go ahead and do it now, because that way it kind of helps you know where you want it to go. So same thing. This one you're gonna leave a little bit more, because you're gonna adhere this one in between the two cards, and it doesn't matter if it's straight at all, because you're not gonna even see it. So cut those off. And you're gonna take these two pieces. So first you're gonna leave this one here. And I just colored this one while it was on the card. It will soak through, but it doesn't soak through all the way that you're gonna see it. So put this one. You do wanna think kind of where your flowers are, because you're gonna color some. So I'm gonna put a group of flowers down there so it's more flowers than leaves. Stick that there. Make sure that's all nice and stuck. And then you're gonna take these two pieces here. Them together. So we're gonna go ahead and stick these together. Back to back. And again, just line them up. So they're like that. And then make sure there's a nice bit of adhesive right here. And then you just get the little bit right there. And then again, this one doesn't matter so much. I did color a couple of flowers at the top just because you're gonna see a couple of them peek through. So as long as you do these cards one panel at a time, they're not confusing. If you try to do the whole thing at once, it's a little bit more confusing. But now you can see when you shut this, I'm gonna be able to see a couple of the flowers here. So that was why I went ahead and chose. So I have this pink flower here, which is in a different spot than my original sample. So work one card, don't follow a sample. So I'm gonna pick these right here. So I'm gonna color these. So I'm gonna open this up, which is the back side. And I just went with little violets for these. So I just pulled 3 colors. I have dark Highland Heather. I think this is dark Blackberry and dark Mango. Literally just smudged around these. It's just the fraction of these are going to show at the top. And then it does make the one card be pretty on this one panel, pretty on the back side. So I'll finish coloring those. And then on this one, I also did just this little chunk here. So I'll color those, and then I'll come back and show you after I'm done coloring them. Okay, so I have finished coloring them. And then I also added the stamping that said you made my day. So I'm gonna put those on in a second. So you can see this one, I do like my other one because I had a couple of green leaves on here, but I don't think in the long run it'll make much difference. So this one has the You're Amazing. And then this one here has the You've Made My Day. And then I colored these, but you can see those ones I colored right there is because you can see a little bit of that show through. So I did get some green there. So now we just need to do the back panel, but while I do the back panel, I'm gonna let these two things dry. So I'm gonna open this up here. If you have StazOn, you could use StazOn. You do wanna remember that you don't wanna use StazOn when you're using them with blends. But the StazOn would dry on this a little bit better. So I'm gonna take the You're Amazing, and I'm gonna put it, Again, this is a different placement than my other one because of where the flowers are. And then the You Made My Day. And I'll put it here. Just kind of put it where the greatest white is. The most free space. And now while I'm doing my other thing, that'll give that enough time to dry. So I'm just gonna lay that aside. Then go back to this really pretty panel that punched out. And I've got the thanks, just the plain thanks out of it. I'm gonna stamp it up here at the top. And then my favorite little thing out of it, it says seriously. I just love the little seriously. So if you've gone to this, this really pretty extravagant thanks card, I just liked the seriously because it added just a fun little touch too. If you've known somebody that's gone out of their way during this time, especially to do something fun and extravagant, it's a great way to give them this over-the-top card and be like, yeah, seriously, we're thankful, because a lot of people have done stuff. Then you're just going to take this, the colors, whichever ones you want. Just use your brush tip. This stamp has a little bit of open space on the letters, which is nice. It gives you some place to kind of fill it in. Here's my bullet tip to get, so I can press a little harder on the yellow, get a little bit stronger. The bullet tips, because you can color harder and press more, do give you that stronger color. After I say that, then I open the brush. And I'm just pulling random colors. It doesn't matter, just so you have. I do like the pink though, so let's go for that twice. And then let's get the purple again. And then just so I can highlight my serious, I'm going to take the brush tip of my, let's go for the lighter green. And then you're just going to take your card. And then it does give you the exact place that you should place it, because you faintly see where it pressed through. Look how pretty that is with that embossed stuff that doesn't pop out. But you can see exactly where it goes because there's a faint impression of that in there. This is another one of those things where it'd be easier to see if my head was right over the top. So just press that on there, and now you can see all of that shows through. Then a couple more things. And take some of my favorite ribbon in white. And then I have some in Mambo, which is close enough to the lipstick, but that's what I already have dyed. So I have a spool of the Mambo dyed, so I went with it. I've used up so much of my dyed ribbon that I'm down to picking colors, and either I need to dye a bunch or I'm waiting and see if it's on the retired list. I'll be super sad if it is, but if it's on the retired list, then I'll have to decide if I'm going to dye the 8 or so spools that I have sitting over there, or if I'm gonna not. Because if it's on the retired list, it may end up in my retired class. So I may want to go with colors for that that I'm using. So I'm just gonna tie this together in one bow, and the 2 colors are just to make it a little bit more full. And I just did it around the edge. This isn't going to be one of my floofy bows. It's just a double bow, which kind of gives the illusion of floof. Just make sure you separate them, and then that doesn't for that. And then just cut these ends shorter. And then the other piece that comes with the Ornate Garden are these fabulous gems. So just take one of the larger ones. They're the gilded gems, and they are my gift with purchase this month. Let me stick it right here. And there you go. Here's my other one. So you can see it does have the green on the front. But overall, they're pretty much the same. So when you open them, let's have an open one down here. I will tell you this one, because it was the first one I did, I kind of peeled things apart. So they never go quite back together, because the gold and the green were additions afterwards. Because as you make these the first time, the prototype, it's fun to kind of see where everything fits. I did it with the birthday bonanzas, and those are fun because you can put the banners through the windows. And I really wanted to show off how pretty these lacy bits were. So I'd cut a bunch of lacy bits trying to decide where to put them, and these is where they end up. So this didn't glue back down quite as well as I'd hoped. But how spectacular is that? Super pretty, not hard at all. You just have to think of panels. And if you are doing, like if you'd want to do 10 or so of these, just do a panel at a time. Color all of these and then put panels together at a time. Really not difficult at all. But I hope, look how pretty that is. I hope you enjoy it. Again, make sure you check out my Facebook page for all of the events, or sign up to be on my email list. That's the easiest way to find out what's up. So everybody stay safe and go create something. Bye.